I'm here in Tatton Park in Cheshire, and there's these wonderful herds of deer roaming around, and the meat is sold just down the road in the farm shop. Great thing about venison is it's really good for you. It's high in protein, it's low in fat, it's low in cholesterol. Now, I'm from Yorkshire, so I figured I'd do a classic Yorkshire recipe that brings together both sides of the Pennines. So I'm going to do a Yorkshire pudding filled with venison with brioche bread sauce. Right, for perfect Yorkshire puddings, we've had our tin heating in the oven with a bit of oil, or preferably duck or goose fat, absolutely fantastic, nice and hot. Next, we've got our Yorkshire pudding mix here. This is an equal quantity of flour, eggs and milk. That's all you have to remember. You can make 1 mug of each, give it a stir. It's rested for about 30 minutes, that's all you need to do. We've got our oven preheating at 200 degrees fan, which is 220. What I'm going to do after about 10 minutes, I'm going to turn that down to 180. Top tip for Yorkshire puddings, always leave them in the oven for 10 more minutes than you think you actually need them in for. We're now going to go on to the bread sauce. So I've got some milk that's been brought up to the boil with half an onion, some thyme and a bay leaf, and then we leave it for about 15 minutes to all those flavours infuse. Next, we're going to strain it into this other pan. I'm going to bring the heat up again to a nice gentle simmer, and then in with our brioche breadcrumbs. We're just going to stir that for a few minutes and let it simmer away for about 10 minutes. And those breadcrumbs are going to thicken that sauce up beautifully. Right, we're now ready to pan fry our venison. Lovely venison steaks, they're really nice and lean. They need virtually no cooking at all, just really fast sear, so they're really nice and rare in the middle. Our pan is now nice and hot, seasoned side down, very carefully in there. That's always a good sign when we get that lovely, intense, sizzling sound. We know it's at the right temperature. Then I'm going to season the other side now. Freshly ground black pepper. Good sprinkling of sea salt. And don't touch it. Don't be tempted to shake the pan. Just leave it to caramelise beautifully. So just a couple of minutes in the searing hot pan, and that's the colour we're looking for on top. Look at that lovely crusty dark brown colour. It's exactly the same now on the other side. This is now going in the oven for about between 5 and 10 minutes, depending on how rare you want it, but I want that meat really nice and pink in the middle. Okay, these venison steaks are quite thick, so they have had a good 10 minutes, and that should be still nice and rare, but they really do need to rest for at least 5 minutes before you serve them. That meat is really tense, and we want it to relax, and all the juices flow through, and all the flavour, and they become really tender. Now then, there is loads of flavour on the bottom of this pan. Do not put this into the washing up at this point. What we're going to do is get it on the heat, get it really nice and hot. And my little magic touch, beer, cherry beer from the Lambic region of Belgium. Goes beautifully with venison. We're just going to pour that in, and we're going to reduce it down, boil that off. We're going to get those lovely meat flavours there off the bottom of the pan. Right, I've reduced that cherry beer by about half, and now we're just going to add our stock for a lovely, tasty gravy. I'm going to boil that up for another couple of minutes. While the stock's reducing down, we're going to put the finishing touches to our bread sauce for a bit of luxury. And that means a bit of double cream. Just a little touch in there. Little bit of butter as well. Give it a good old stir up. Final bit of seasoning. And that is perfect brioche bread sauce. We're now ready to serve up. So, Yorkshire's out of the oven. Look at those. Beautifully risen, golden brown, full of flavour. Now we're going to carve up our venison. Nice slivers. That is cooked to perfection. If you overcook venison, it's going to be tough as old boots. Bit of venison into the middle of each Yorkshire pudding, or even 2 pieces. Next, brioche bread sauce. Good old spoonful on the top of each one. Now, for a bit of our cherry beer gravy on top of each one as well. And don't worry if this splashes around the plate as well, because it's even nicer when it soaks in to the bottom of those Yorkshires. And finally, for a bit of colour and flavour, a nice garnish of watercress. And I reckon that this makes a fabulous starter. It makes great party finger food in its own right. And if you eat them all, quite a nice tasty meal just for yourself.